Its ungainly size and appearance may have gained it the nickname of the Turkey, but in reality, the Grumman TBF Avenger was anything but. Forged in the fires of World War II, this iconic torpedo bomber would become one of the most versatile and enduring warplanes of its era. The Avenger quickly proved itself a versatile warrior in World War II's most demanding naval combat situations. From the fiery chaos of the Battle of Midway to the intense hunt for German U-boats in the Atlantic, to even taking on lightning-fast V-1 flying bombs bound for Britain, this robust aircraft became a cornerstone of Allied aviation. But the Avenger's story didn't end there. Its remarkable adaptability saw it evolve into roles its creators never envisioned, from aerial firefighter to carrier onboard delivery aircraft, and even as a platform for some of the first airborne early warning systems. This flexibility ensured the Avenger's continued service long after many of its contemporaries had been retired. The Avenger's impact reached far beyond its military service, influencing aircraft design and setting new standards for versatility in aviation. This remarkable warbird didn't just fly through history, it helped shape it, cementing its place as one of the most significant aircraft of the 20th century. In the late 1930s, as global political tensions were rapidly rising to a crescendo, the United States Navy faced a critical problem. Their primary torpedo bomber, the Douglas TBD Devastator, was quickly becoming obsolete, overtaken by more advanced aircraft from rival nations. With war looming on the horizon, the Navy needed a new torpedo bomber, capable of delivering devastating blows to enemy ships while surviving the relentless gauntlet of anti-aircraft fire and enemy fighters. In late March of 1939, the U.S. Navy laid out a challenging set of specifications for their next-generation torpedo bomber. The aircraft would need to hit 300 miles per hour, fly 1,000 miles with a torpedo payload, and climb to 30,000 feet. It also had to get airborne in just 325 feet when facing a strong headwind. Perhaps most critically, the Navy demanded that all ordnance be carried inside the aircraft, a requirement that would shape the plane's entire design philosophy. Grumman Aircraft Engineering Corporation, already known for its robust designs, responded to the Navy's call as a team, led by Leroy Grumman himself, set to work on what would become the TBF Avenger. The Avenger was designed with several innovative features to meet the Navy's demanding requirements. At its heart, the powerful Wright R2600 twin cyclone engine produced 1,700 horsepower. This engine would give the Avenger the speed and climb rate it needed to survive in combat, while carrying heavy payloads inside its distinctive large internal bomb bay. Capable of carrying a torpedo or up to 2,000 pounds of bombs, this bay set the Avenger apart from its predecessor and many contemporary designs. The internal carriage of weapons reduced drag, improving the aircraft's performance and range. Another crucial innovation was Grumman's new stow-wing folding mechanism. This ingenious design allowed the Avenger's wings to be folded upwards and then tucked in against the fuselage, significantly reducing its footprint on crowded carrier decks. The stow-wing system was so successful that it would be incorporated into other Grumman designs, including the F-6F Hellcat. Meanwhile, the Avenger's cockpit was designed with combat in mind. The pilot sat high in the fuselage, providing excellent visibility for carrier landings and target approaches. Behind the pilot, a long greenhouse canopy housed the other two crew members, the turret gunner and the radio man/bombardier. The Avenger's initial defensive armament consisted of 3 strategically placed guns, a 30 caliber in the nose, a power-operated turret housing a 50 caliber, and a 30 caliber in the belly. As the war progressed, this setup underwent changes. Later versions swapped out the nose gun for 2 wing-mounted 50 calibers, significantly boosting the aircraft's ability to dish out punishment from the front. The aircraft's large size allowed for the installation of significant fuel capacity, giving it the long range the Navy required. The Avenger could fly more than 1,000 miles with a full internal fuel load, making it an ideal platform for long-range strike missions and anti-submarine patrols. The first prototype, XTBF-1, took to the skies on August 7, 1941, just months before the Pearl Harbor attack. Despite a few teething problems and the loss of this first prototype in a crash, development proceeded at a breakneck pace. The Navy, impressed by the Avenger's potential, had already placed an order for 286 aircraft in December 1940, even before the prototype's first flight. As Grumman pushed to increase production, world events suddenly made the Avenger a top priority. The Japanese strike on Pearl Harbor on December 7, 1941, plunged America into the global conflict. In an instant, the Navy's requirement for a cutting-edge torpedo bomber shifted from important to absolutely critical. Soon, the Avenger faced its baptism of fire under the most challenging circumstances imaginable. In June 1942, just 6 months after Pearl Harbor, the U.S. Navy prepared to meet the Japanese fleet near Midway Atoll in what would become one of the most decisive naval battles in history. Among the American forces were 6 brand-new TBF-1 Avengers assigned to Torpedo Squadron 8, also known as VT-8. On the morning of June 4th, these 6 Avengers, flown by crews who had barely had a chance to familiarize themselves with the new aircraft, took off to attack the Japanese fleet. What followed was a tragedy that starkly illustrated the dangers faced by torpedo bombers. Flying without a fighter escort, 5 of the 6 Avengers were shot down by swarming Japanese Zero fighters. The sole survivor, piloted by Ensign Albert K. Ernest, managed to return to Midway despite severe damage, with its hydraulics shot out and its turret gunner gone in the seat behind him. This disastrous debut highlighted the need for improved tactics and fighter escort for torpedo bombers. Despite the setback, the Navy remained committed to the Avenger, recognizing its potential. As more Avengers joined the fleet, tactics evolved to better utilize the aircraft's strengths and address the challenges revealed at Midway. The lessons learned contributed to developing more effective strike packages, combining fighters, dive bombers, and torpedo bombers to overwhelm enemy defenses. This evolution bore fruit in August 1942 during the Battle of the Eastern Solomons, where Avengers played a crucial role in sinking the Japanese light carrier Ryujo. This victory boosted morale and proved that, when properly employed, the Avenger could be a highly effective asset to the fleet. Just 2 weeks later, a new chapter in the aircraft's history would begin when the first General Motors-produced Avenger rolled off the production line with the new designation TBM. The demand for Avengers had outstripped Grumman's production capacity, so in a unique wartime collaboration, General Motors' Eastern Aircraft Division began producing the aircraft under license, allowing Grumman to focus on its new fighter, the F-6F Hellcat, while ensuring a steady supply of Avengers to the fleet. This partnership would ultimately result in the majority of Avengers being built by GM rather than Grumman. By war's end, GM would produce over 7,500 TBMs, compared to Grumman's 2,290 TBFs. Nevertheless, regardless of who manufactured it, the Avenger's early combat record was hampered by a critical flaw, not in the aircraft itself, but in its primary weapon. The Mark 13 torpedo was plagued with reliability issues, often failing to detonate or running too deep. As a result, many Avenger crews began to favor skip bombing techniques or carrying conventional bombs instead of torpedoes. The Navy and the torpedo manufacturers worked tirelessly to improve the Mark 13. By 1944, significant progress had been made. The addition of a plywood pickle barrel housing allowed for higher drop speeds, and the warhead was upgraded from 400 pounds of TNT to 600 pounds of the more powerful Torpex explosive. These improvements would make the Avenger a much more effective torpedo bomber in the latter part of the war. However, with its large bomb bay and long range, the Avenger soon proved equally proficient in other roles. As their versatility began to shine through, Avengers were quickly used for mine laying, glide bombing, and even as makeshift transport aircraft. One of the Avengers' most significant roles emerged in anti-submarine warfare. Equipped with radar and depth charges, these aircraft became the scourge of enemy submarines in both the European and Pacific theaters. Operating from escort carriers, Avengers played a crucial role in closing the mid-Atlantic gap and turning the tide in the battle against German U-boats. In the Pacific, they hunted Japanese submarines, helping to disrupt enemy supply lines and protect Allied shipping. The Avengers' long range and ability to carry a variety of anti-submarine weapons made it an ideal platform for these extended patrols. A dramatic example of the Avengers' anti-submarine capabilities came in June 1944. A TBF from the escort carrier USS Bogue, piloted by Lieutenant Commander Jesse Taylor, detected the Japanese submarine I-52 on a secret mission to Germany. In a night action, Taylor's Avenger, guided by sonobuoys and radar, sank the submarine with a newly developed acoustic homing torpedo called Fido. Meanwhile, in the hands of the Fleet Air Arm of Britain's Royal Navy, who had acquired several Avengers in 1943 under the Lend-Lease Agreement between the United States and its allies, the aircraft would claim a victory against another enemy asset, one few would have predicted, a V-1 flying bomb. On July 10, 1944, as a Royal Navy Avenger soared through the 5 a.m. twilight on its way home from a long patrol, the aircraft's telegraphist air gunner, leading airman Fred Shermer, suddenly spotted a V-1 coming from behind, hurtling over the English Channel toward its target in Britain. Waiting for the considerably faster V-1 to overtake, Shermer carefully took aim. From 700 yards, he let off a concise blast of 20 rounds from his turret-mounted 50-inch machine gun, sending the flying bomb plummeting into the sea below and earning him a mention in dispatches. As the war in the Pacific intensified, Avengers continued to prove their worth in major engagements. In June 1944, during the Marianas Turkey Shoot, Avengers participated in one of the most one-sided aerial battles of the war. Avengers from the light carrier USS Belleau Wood sank the carrier Hio, demonstrating their lethal effectiveness when given the opportunity. During the Battle of Leyte Gulf in October 1944, Avengers played a crucial role in sinking the mighty Japanese battleship Musashi. 6 months later, in April 1945, they would repeat this feat against Musashi's sister ship, Yamato, on its final mission toward Okinawa. During this period, one of the Avengers' most famous pilots had his brush with doom. George H.W. Bush, future President of the United States, had become the U.S. Navy's youngest aviator when he was commissioned in June 1944, shortly before his 19th birthday. But on September 2nd that year, he was shot down while attacking Japanese positions on Chichijima. Bush managed to complete his bombing run before bailing out, earning the Distinguished Flying Cross. His survival and rescue showcased both the Avengers' ability to withstand damage and the bravery of its crews. Another notable Avenger crewman was future Hollywood star Paul Newman, who served as a rear-seat gunner. Although he had hoped to become a pilot, colorblindness relegated him to the gunner's position. Newman was aboard the escort carrier USS Hollandia, just 500 miles off the coast of Japan, when the atomic bombs were dropped in August 1945. As the war entered its final stages, the Avenger continued to evolve. The TBM-3 variant, introduced in 1944, featured a more powerful 1,900 horsepower engine and strengthened wings for heavier loads. These improvements allowed the Avenger to carry more ordnance and operate more effectively at higher altitudes. The TBM-3 also incorporated lessons learned from combat experience. Wing-mounted 50 caliber guns replaced the earlier nose-mounted 30 caliber gun, providing better forward firepower for strafing runs. Improved radar and electronic countermeasures equipment enhanced the aircraft's effectiveness in both strike and anti-submarine roles. By the war's end, Avengers had sunk numerous enemy warships, destroyed countless ground targets, and were credited with sinking 30 submarines. More than 9,800 had been built, with 7 different nations operating the type. The Avengers' story didn't end with World War II. Its versatility and reliability ensured it would continue serving long after many of its contemporaries had been retired. In the immediate post-war years, Avengers were modified for various specialized roles, including some of the first airborne early warning platforms and carrier onboard delivery transports. The Royal Canadian Navy utilized Avengers extensively in the anti-submarine role well into the 1950s, modifying them with advanced radar and electronic countermeasures equipment. Even as jet aircraft began to dominate naval aviation, the trusty Avenger soldiered on. One of the Avenger's most unique post-war roles came in civilian hands. Surplus Avengers found new lives as aerial firefighting aircraft. Their large bomb bays carried water or fire retardant. In Canada's forests, Avengers would continue flying into the 21st century, more than 60 years after the type's introduction. Today, a handful of Avengers continue flying, their distinctive shape and rumbling radial engines a living reminder of a pivotal time in aviation history. Museums worldwide, including the National Museum of Naval Aviation in Pensacola and the National Air and Space Museum in Washington, D.C., proudly display preserved examples, allowing new generations to appreciate the aircraft's size and rugged construction.